Hello my chums, welcome back. Today we are comparing 358 Winchester and 7 Rem Mag, doing ballistics with a twist. We're actually shooting some sambar deer shoulders. So you've probably all seen a ballistic video out there where they're using bloody wet phone books, ballistics, gel, all these other bloody mediums to try and show you what a bullet will do when it hits your deer. I've been collecting deer shoulders from the last 4 deer that I've shot. We're going to do a series on shooting them with different calibers and find out how they perform. Now, when I originally proposed this to my Patreon about August last year, I wanted to do different projectiles. And the Patreons, so the same caliber, so I want to do like 7 Rem Mag, for instance, and do like 4 or 5 different projectiles just to show the difference of how they perform. The Patreons said they didn't like that idea. They said they wanted to see different cartridges, so this is what we're going to do now. So for the first 2 shoulders, I went with my 2 personal deer hunting rifles, one being my 358 Winchester custom rifle made by High Cal Firearms and Ordnance, and the other being my 7 Rem Mag Ticker T3X. What we have is, so this is a sambar hind that I shot and butchered a while back. So not as big as a big staggy boy, but obviously bigger than a fallow. So I feel like this is kind of like a good middle ground to try and get some good information there. These shoulders were frozen and then defrosted for the video. To catch the bullets, I have a couple of rows of milk bottles. And as you'll see as we progress through this video, I didn't really have enough milk bottles. So when I do this the next time, I'm going to have to get a hell of a lot more. So when we shot these targets, these were at 100 meters. A lot of people do their ballistic testing at like 10 meters to make sure they hit the target. I think that's a pretty poo way of doing it. I feel like if you shoot it at the actual applicable hunting range, most of my shots are about the 100 meter mark. Most people don't go, above 200-300 meters, particularly in really dense forest. So 100 meters I feel like is a pretty good comparison as opposed to doing it at 10-15 meters. I just feel like that doesn't really give you an accurate result unless you're shooting at that range, which most people aren't. We can see that the 358 Winchester hand loads of mine, which are going 25-30 feet per second, at 100 meters have 2,957 joules of energy. When we compare that to our 7 Rem Mag, which is factory Hornady 162 grain ELDX going 2975 feet per second, we can see that we have 3844 joules of energy. So we have 900 joules more energy out of the 7 Rem Mag. Now the point I'm going to make in this video is it's not really the joules of energy that do all your damage. For the 358 we have a monolithic bullet, a copper monolithic, and then for the 7 Rem Mag we have a cup and core bullet, it's an ELDX. So you'll see with a cup and core bullet why I usually steer clear of cup and core bullets. Now a lot of people that I have heard of using ELDXs, not particularly in 7 Rem Mag, but in 300 Winchester Magnum, they have not had a full pass through with ELDXs. With mine, I've only shot 1 deer with ELDX, and that was a full pass-through. However, that wasn't a fallow spiker, so not much there to do. Did hit the spine though, still continued all the way through. A mate of mine shot a sambar stag with a 7 rum, and he didn't even get a full pass-through either. Very hard for him to track that deer because it bled into between the skin and the rib cage, so he didn't really have a blood trail either. Took him about 3 hours to find it, and it was about 50 meters from where he'd shot it, but it was so dense in there and no blood trail, it took him ages to find it. The first one we're going to show you is going to be the 7 Rem Mag. Now this is a well-known and well-liked deer hunting cartridge, so we're going to see how this one performs. Alright, here is the carnage. Good thing I stacked all those water bottles. I think the bullet's in that last one there. You can just see bubbles coming up. Let's have a look at the shoulder blade. Alright, so straight through there somewhere. There's the entry hole there. Little tiny entry hole. It's blown a fairly decent chunk out. There's all bone fragments. Alright, so we've gone through these bottles here. You can see it's blown bone and shit straight into all the bottles. There's even a piece back in there. That one's got some lead in it. So that's the 4th bottle. Looks like it's gone in between these as well. That one's got some lead in it. That one, I can't see anything. And there's the bullet. So as you can see from looking at the leftover of the projectile, it did penetrate a fair way. It made a decent sized hole in our shoulder. It went through a lot of this water and then it was stopped in the last bottle. Now the jacket and the cord did separate, which is generally what happens with a cup and core. We had a lot of lead throughout the other bottles. We had a few fragments of jacket throughout as well. And it didn't really have that much weight retention at the other end. Now, because of the velocity, it's done a lot of damage to that bone. And you'll know when you shoot something with a 7 Rem Mag or a 300 Win Mag, you're going to have a lot of meat damage, particularly if you hit in the shoulder, because you are going to fragment that bone, and we've seen that in this video here. So now let's look at the 358 Winchester with that copper monolithic bullet and see how much different this is. Now, we know this is 900 joules less energy. However, have a look at this. Holy fucking shit. Look at the fucking carnage. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to find that fucking bullet. I'm hoping that that's the mark from it. But I went through all of them. Alright, entry hole. So the exit hole's still quite small, so it means it wasn't expanding in the bone, but as soon as it's left the bone, that's the first one. So as soon as it's left that bone, it's expanded. Fuck a duck. Right. Fucking hell. Trying to find this. It's going to be fucking shit. So I think all this is from previous. This might take a while, boys. Oh wait, what's that? Yeah, no fucking idea where it is. So as you can see, the bullet construction has meant that it's not dissipated its energy as much, and it's carried completely forward. So when you have something like a Swift A-frame or a Nosler Petition bullet, the weight retention that you get out of those, it will still mushroom, but then it continues forwards. Now you get the same or similar thing out of a monolithic bullet like a Barnes TDXX or one of these things, where it is still going to open up, but then it's going to drive and continue driving because it still has mass behind it. As soon as you start losing mass, your kinetic energy goes down, which means you get less penetration. It doesn't matter what your sectional density is or your ballistics coefficient. If you're losing mass off your projectile, you are getting less kinetic effect on the target, which means less penetration and less it can drive through. So I never recovered the 358 projectile. It's somewhere in the ground out there. So I would really have liked to capture that, and I think next time I go out, when I do the next videos of this series, I might fire another one into a lot of water and see if I can capture that bullet just to show you what that bullet would look like. But here's one of those same projectiles that I fired at a steel plate. So to give you some sort of idea, obviously this is not what it would look like going through this meat, bone, and then water, but I'll just throw this in anyway, just so we have a bit of a comparison. The ELDX rounds are more designed for that longer range. You want to be stepping out, your 400, 500, 600 meter mark for that bullet to function completely, I would say, correctly. It's going a little bit too fast for that bullet at 100 meters. Once you get around, between 300 and 600 meters is a prime zone where it's in the velocity that the bullet is made to function at. Whereas, with our copper monolithics, the short range stuff it's really good at, but it does fail to open as much at the longer ranges. So if you have a close range stalking rifle, why not go with a copper monolithic over a cup and core high BC long range bullet? You can still kill something with that ELDX at close range, but it functions better at long range, whereas with a 358 you can definitely stomp something at short range. The further out you step, the more likely you have that the bullet won't open as much, but it will probably still give you a kill. I hope you got something out of that. I hope that was scientific enough for you. I hope that you like the fact that, you know, we shot an actual deer shoulder and not just shot some other sort of media and extrapolated what we think would happen. Now we know what's going to happen when you shoot a deer in the shoulder with those two cartridges. I've got more deer shoulders in the freezer, so we're going to do these videos again. So you should comment below which cartridge you want me to shoot the others with, and we'll see what we can do. Anyway, hope you got something out of that. As always, I'll see you next video, and hooroo.
Mate. Come on. Come on, kitty.